Okay, so we're getting ready.
It's usually our solution.
There were 19 people waiting on us here. Okay, it looks like it's hitting. I'm going to go ahead and, Connor, if you wouldn't mind, as we do this, please, kind of monitor Facebook a little bit. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I can try it on my phone.
Yeah,
yeah, guys, we
that'd
are.
Be good.
We're live, so we'll just give it a second here to get going. Let me see if it's possible to. Yep. Okay. Got it there.
Yep. Yeah, audio and everything.
Perfect. Cool. Let me. Here we go. All right, guys. Welcome, everyone. Welcome watching. Thank you for tuning in to live our second locksmithing Q&A. Thank you for tuning in. And we have three special guests today. I first want to just thank you all for taking the time to come on. And hopefully we'll get rapid-fired questions here. Now, before we get going, guys, please go ahead, and I have my computer opened up here. I can see all the questions. And go ahead and start asking us some questions. And we're going to get three different perspectives, and it's going to be a blast. But before we get going, Kip and Chris, you guys have been here before, but if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a minute to let everyone know who you are and kind of your background, how many years you've been locksmithing, and just fill everybody in.
Okay. Go ahead, man.
My name's Chris. I own River City Locksmith out of Spokane, Washington. Go P&W. I've been locksmithing for close to 7 years now. Real strong emphasis on residential, commercial, and bringing automotive into that fold here as quickly as we can.
Awesome.
How's it going? I'm Kip with Vanguard Lock and Key. I'm based out of Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Almost 20 years. I focus on commercial, residential, a little bit of automotive, just really starting to get into the newer stuff and safes, all that good stuff, but never a dull moment.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on. And we have a new guest with us, Javon.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on today. And if you wouldn't mind just filling everybody in on a little bit of your locksmithing background.
Sure. So I'm Javon. I've been a locksmith for 28 years now. I originally came from Seattle area out here to Idaho. And I specialize in probably mostly commercial hardware, door closers and exit devices and pivots and things like this. And then, now I'm currently an employee at Country Lock.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Now, guys, before we go any further here, I'm going to read some questions or some shout outs to everybody. Thank them for coming on. Before I do, would any of you guys like a Topo Chico?
I'll take one.
I'm good.
You'll take one?
Yeah, I'll take
I got
one.
my tea. I'm good, man. I'm
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess only one today.
Beats regular water.
It does. It does. Now, I mean, Kip, how much did you like it last time? I mean, were you a fan?
I liked it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely better than some other things I've tasted, so yeah,
Yeah,
no complaints.
cool. I just love the stuff. I don't know why, but
I like the flavored waters and stuff like that. It's better for you, and it's anything you do a little bit extra is always good.
Yeah,
Yep.
as long as it's cold. That's my order.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, it needs to be cold.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, guys. So, hey, David, thanks for tuning in over there in Bellingham, Washington.
Oh boy.
We got Bart Simpson. We got Ryan Urich. Hey, Ryan. We got Dave and Steam Gadget 63 Flight. Dana Reed, thanks for tuning in. Ismail, how's it going? We got James Estep, Gumby. We have Mr. Jeff Moss on. Jeff.
Moss. How's it going, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for tuning in. We have Chad. How's it going? Now, Chad actually, we'll probably be posting it, but he actually just had sent me an email, I think today, about, he had like a, forgive me if I'm not describing it right, Chad, but like a Simpsons character of me drone. So,
Nice.
I thought it was pretty cool, Chad. Thank you. We got Rod Elwood. thanks for tuning in. He says, of course he has Topo Chico. You know, I try to keep at least a case or two backup at all times. All times.
Emergency stash.
Emergency stash, you know. Ryan, yep, you're absolutely welcome for the beanie. Suncoast Picker, how's it going? Looks like we have my dad, Pete Slosson's on here. Hey, Dad.
Hey, Pete.
We got Gerald. First bumps all around. Hey, Gerald. Mr. Tanner's tuning in too. We got Kid Lock.
Okay.
Nice.
We got Kid Lock going on here. And Gustavo, thanks for tuning in. And awesome. Doug Kimber, hey there. And Rocket Lock Opener, how's it going? All right, guys, so I'm going to start us off here with some questions. And the first one up is I want to talk about lockouts, okay? And my question is do you make your customers sign waivers before you do the job? And if you do or don't, kind of the reasoning behind it. Then I'm going to follow it up with a question. Have you ever busted a window? Right, why not?
Okay.
So let's go ahead with Kip. Let's start with you.
Up to this point, no, I have not had any customers sign a waiver. It has crossed my mind, but I try to be really, really careful when I'm opening a car, making sure that there's no damage. If there is damage, typically what I do is bring it to the customer's attention. I'm like, hey, looks like somebody else has already tried to get in your car. So they know and I know we've had the conversation. So if it comes up later, well, you damaged my car. Well, no, remember when I said, and if it's a lot of damage, I'll even take a picture with my phone.
Okay.
Never broken a window. Knocking on wood right now, never.
Even in the dead of winter up here.
No, you just got to be patient and, just take it easy. And after a while, you learn what cars are a little more fickle.
Yeah.
Like, kind of where to push it and where not to. So, yeah. Patience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never broke a window. I'm impressed, Kip. I'm impressed. It's been, in the winter. I mean, some of those, it's like you get the snow off. It's covered with ice.
Oh.
Even like just touching the handle, it's like frozen.
I could tell you some wintertime stories, though. I'll tell you that. Save that for another.
Yeah. Perfect. How about you, Chris?
So usually my rule of thumb is if I go to a customer's house, if I'm going to their location, I typically do not have them sign any type of paperwork because there's no real concern that it's not their vehicle because it's it's at their house. They walked out of the house. If my gut says there's no problem, it's usually no big deal. If I have any inclination that there's something weird going on, if it's a mall parking lot, if something just doesn't seem right, there's always going to be paperwork involved.
Yeah.
But after doing it for so long, your gut will tell you a lot. Never broken a window. I have cracked one though. Old Jeep, some of those ones that have no power locks, you have to get those windows rolled down. It was probably about 110 degrees, slipped off of it, hit the windshield, and it cracked it a little bit. Yeah. But that's it. That's the worst I've ever done.
Okay.
No, nothing broken other than that. But yeah, it's if you do it long enough, you can read people pretty well. You can kind of tell the situations.
That's what I was gonna say. You get a feel for it, even on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That locksmith spider tingle kind of goes off,
Yeah. So far
something's wrong. You can
Mm-hmm. But if there is any damage, you always document the damage and
beforehand.
Yes.
And I think I like that, Kip. I mean, we have a computer in our pocket nowadays, and so it makes sense pulling it out. If you need to video you with it real quick, hey, here's a little bit of damage.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
And to clarify, I do have a waiver on my invoices, so if they pay with a card or check, typically I have them sign the invoice. So I guess sometimes there is a waiver on there because there's a statement at the bottom. But an actual damage waiver, I don't do anything.
I think a few extra words beforehand always is going to help you a lot. That's as long as they know what to expect, then I think that you don't really have too many issues. Most people will at least.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah. So, Joan, in your history, have you ever had people sign any sort of waivers?
Never have, actually.
Never have?
Never have, no.
Okay.
No, it's always been just kind of, like we were talking about, kind of pre-evaluating people and getting a sense for them, and then just talking to them and discussing what what you're doing, and never really I never had any issues. No.
Okay.
No. And I've never broken a window.
Never.
But
Nice.
Subarus, I'm always a little worried.
Those frameless windows give me a little heart
Yeah,
attack.
exactly. You kind of like just a little bit more. Yeah.
On the
yeah.
frameless windows, like the Subarus.
Right.
What's your go-to method for that? I mean, are we using pump wedges?
I don't use a pump wedge at all. I still use the PW100.
The HPC?
spreader.
Yep.
Yep. I've always used it. I don't use it on a Subaru because I don't need to, because I use a splitting wedge with a real tapered tip.
Yep.
So I go in there and I have the long one. I use the long one for that. So I have leverage, and it just pulls it out enough for my long rod to slip in there. Sometimes, if it's warmer, I'll go ahead and pop the window all the way out. But if I don't need to, like it's colder, I don't push it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. You
got to know the
risk it.
limits, and it just slide the long rod right by there.
Yeah.
Typically, what I like to do is for Subaru specifically, you do run that risk with the windows if you're faint at heart. But I like to leashy. I like to always try to do the leashy first. That way, you're building your skill set as far as making decoding keys. And if that doesn't work right away, I'll typically use a pump wedge. But I like to always soak mine in silicone or Windex, even something that kind of gives a little more flexibility. And this sucker slides right in like silk, and then a little bit, just enough to the width of that bar, maybe plus an extra 10%, and just go right to it.
Okay.
Yep. I use a pump wedge.
Okay.
Pretty much exclusively for that. And I'm just real careful and put the long rod in and go for it. Yeah.
And one more question about lockouts, and I'll leave you guys alone about it here. But I mean, is there any, so let's say you quote them the price to go out there and do the job. Is there anything that might change at all when you get there, as far as I know for me around here, there's a lot of lifted up pickup trucks. Yeah. And I never had a ladder in my van, right? And you'd show up to this, and I have my little stool that's wobbly, and the other thing is tinted windows, right? Having tinted windows on a lift up pickup truck, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there any exceptions to those rules, or I mean, how do you guys handle that?
I usually don't change my charges unless I'm switching to making a key or something changes. I've stood on toolboxes. I mean, I've done all
milk
kinds
crates,
of
all
stuff.
that stuff. Yeah.
If you're lucky, it's at their house and they have a ladder. If you don't have one, I've flipped buckets over. I mean, I've done all kinds of stuff. The tent is not fun. At all, and if you're using a long rod, you get this huge shoulder workout where you're, really trying to get it pretty soon.
Trying to
Your
look at the
shoulder's
front,
dying because it's your left hand. Because I'm right-handed, so yeah.
For tinted windows, there's some tricks. There are some tools that are made to get around that. You have a light source on the front. You can see down. It does a way better job. But broken handles, dead batteries. There's a lot of stuff that kind of comes into play. But you do it long enough, all the tricks of the trade. Which ways to attack certain vehicles and how you should go at it. But if you have a good skill set, you kind of know how to get around those things. It generally shouldn't affect the price.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always charged the same. So
Same.
the same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
So I mean, if you show up and there's a couple of circumstances, you're like, hey, we're just sticking to it.
Right. A 30-second lockout turns into a 2-minute 30-second lockout now.
Right.
Very fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess one last question on this, because we have Chad has asked the question about lockouts. How do you handle box trucks?
Depends on the vehicle. If it's a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, that can determine. If you're lucky, you can use the Slim Jim. You don't have to worry about it. I've been known to have an extra long rod that's a little older that I can manipulate more and kind of get in there if that's the only way to get into it, or you can pick it depending on what it is.
Okay.
Depends, like you said, depends on the type of truck. If it's old enough, check wing windows. Always check wing windows. People often leave those alone.
Those are fun to do, aren't they, as well? Putting the little tool in.
Yeah.
I love those things.
Yeah. Do you carry a wing window tool?
I think so. I'd have to. I think ProLock, or I'm sure between Access and ProLock, I'm guessing one of them has them.
My best method because obviously that box makes it really hard to come into that angle off the top right. I was always taught to go in through the top left. That may sound weird, but the door will flex enough. You can come right in through the top left. Obviously, you stand near the hood and you can come right down on it, or under the door tools. Or if it's a Ford, Chevy, or stuff like that, jiggle them, pick them, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, there's not much more I can add to that. It's all, it's kind of evaluate by the type of what you're running into at the particular vehicle, whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right, so we have a few questions coming in here. Let's see. So, on a Simplex 1000, Gumby is asking, is there a trick to removing the front handle or knob from a Simplex 1000?
Front handle or knob. We're talking about like a fix to the door, or we're talking about like install procedure, or?
I guess it depends on if it has a key override or not. That would make a difference.
I mean, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong on those, I think you should be able to just stick your key in and turn it and pop it off like a normal commercial lock.
Yeah, they're a little more picky because the detent is further in.
Yes.
But
so when he's looking down that hole, it may not look like there's anything there.
Yeah.
But there is.
You gotta kind of. It's a weird like zigzag.
Yes.
Right.
They also, depending on how old and how well maintained it is, you can also have a lot of grime and dirt in there too. So you're trying to get that detent, and you have to flush it or scrape it out or clean it up. But definitely scope it or put some light on it to make sure it's in there.
Okay. Yeah, Gumby. So I think that's gonna be the answer, right? Is just do it like a normal commercial grade lock. Turn the key. You'll be able to push the detent in, but you're not going to be able to see it. So make sure you have something that gets in there quite a bit.
Right.
One other thing on those is sometimes when you're pushing it, if you go in and then out as you're pushing it, instead of just pushing and pull, sometimes if you just push in on the handle, it'll expose that detent a little more, and you can push it and then it comes straight off.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Now, Chad responded. He says when he does the box trucks, he did one yesterday, and he just used a leashy to get in.
Oh yeah.
Which is always another method.
CY24 is good for some of the internationals, but the 18 wheelers and stuff. Yeah, there's some good tools out there.
Those have always been
Absolutely.
easy for me. I usually just pick them. I've never not been able to pick a semi so far.
Right.
Because there's no way you're getting in with a long rod or something.
2020 international.
Right.
Just pops open.
Okay, so we got a question from Christopher Del Sui. Sorry if I said that wrong. That's one thing I found by doing these is how terrible I am at spelling last names.
Expand your vocabulary.
Yeah, I'm trying, dude. I'm trying, right? He says, how do I find which residential key blanks are appropriate for my region? And before I start, I think it's a pretty common question out there for guys getting going. It's like, how do you have any suggestions on how you kind of figure that out?
I think some of that is experience and just going out and starting to do jobs. You can drive around and kind of look, but you don't want to be creepy.
Right.
But I mean, odds are it's going to be Kwikset or Schleg or something. But yeah, I would say just going out and doing it and trying to figure out what they all are and maybe carrying more of a variety at first, and then you can pull that back.
Yeah, and I think a good one would be, we actually came out with a video yesterday, the top 10 most popular key blanks in the USA for 2020 by using manufacturer key data. They said I couldn't say who, where the data came from, but it's legit data. So I would take a look at that video. I mean, if you need a place to get started, of course, it's your SC1, KW1, M1, right?
All the basics,
All the basics. And then you have to kind of go from there. I think...
KW10.
KW10, yep. And at some point, you have to get a key blank reference guide, I think, like the key blank directory by Ilko. And you really have to start memorizing those key patterns.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And I know that's probably a bad, probably not what you want to hear, but I think it's something that there's really, at some point, there's no way of getting out of starting to understand different key patterns.
Yeah. At some point, you'll get to where you can look across the room and tell what kind of lock it is.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that becomes a fun thing to do.
All right, guys, here we go. So Robert Giffen asks, starting a one-man mobile locksmithing business. After doing Google, website, marketing materials, what do you recommend doing on the first day, weeks, months to get that phone ringing? Thanks. Robert, great question. Thanks for asking.
I think there's a couple of things you can do. one, getting a website up and running, working on your Google. You know, you don't really have ratings yet, but trying to make sure that it's up there. And gosh, I'm trying to think. I just had a total mental block. I apologize.
So after you have the basics done, the Google done.
After you have the basics.
Yes,
done.
after you have the website, you have all like. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe you spend all this time setting it all up.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. Your phone's not ringing yet, or maybe not nearly what you want. What do you do at that point? Like,
Sure.
give any recommendations?
Meeting people, dropping off business cards, going in and talking to businesses. If you have signage, drive it around. Sitting in a parking lot, you know. Sometimes I can't tell you how many times I've been in a parking lot and I see somebody trying to get in their car.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll walk over and say, hey, you need help? And if I'm already there, I might even offer them a discount. You know what I mean? Because I'm already there anyway. So I'll say, hey, you know what? For this price, I'll get you in, you know. And they'll remember you, you know.
Right.
Little things like that. Because word of mouth, I think, helps.
It really does. Typically, if you're doing Google and you're setting up websites, and SEO generally takes anywhere between 3 to 7 months, depending on your category and the next update for webmasters and stuff. So you do have a good amount of time between when that SEO takes place. You may be 4th page, next month 3rd, and then 2nd, hopefully 1st eventually. But yeah, you have to do a lot of groundwork usually. Going out to hardware stores, getting your information out there. If you're an automotive guy, go to these dealerships. Get out there and beat the bushes. Hand out cards. Just get them everywhere.
Kind of think of who your target customer is. What I'm hearing, and look them up. Try to start building relationships.
A great one also is roadside companies too. If you are, if you're just starting out and you're not doing like Mercedes or safes and stuff like that, yeah, get all these roadside companies. You may not make a ton of money, but it'll keep you busy.
That reminds me of something, a networking group. If you can get into some sort of networking group, like for the first year to get your name out of there, because they'll typically keep you in their group and they'll refer you and they'll use you solely. And then those people go out and tell other people, and they'll say, yeah, I know a guy, he's in our group, he's been vetted, give him a shot.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start.
Play ball with the local guys and they'll pass information around and stuff.
I don't have anything to add. These guys own their businesses, I know. So.
Now, that kind of brings me to, Chris, thanks for bringing that up, because I know this is kind of a heated topic, okay? But let's just touch on it, and just kind of get a 1,000-foot view of the situation.
We're talking about lock lubes again?
I'm talking about NSPs, National Service Providers, like you said. So, of course, some guys love them. Other guys say, hey, I don't want anything to do with them. But I'd just like to get some high-level perspective if you choose to do them, if you choose not to, and just kind of your perspective a little bit.
Well, the Country Lock would do it, and I have actually no problem with it. I think it's fine. I mean, I got one the other day that was almost a book, of a lot of different stuff that I had to do, and you got to read through it. You do what they want you to do, and get some paperwork signed. But I think after you do it for long enough, it's not really, at first you might be like, oh, I got to do all this extra process, but to me, that's not a big deal. You just do what has to be done, I guess. You don't have if you want that type of work, you gotta do the process that they want you to do it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So
I think from the administrative side, dealing with some of the NSPs are definitely not fun. They'll give you a NTE, and you're like, wait, I gotta replace all this stuff, and I got only your parts, and there's no markup, and there's a lot more involved on the negotiating side. With the install side, it's usually should be pretty clear and easy. You gotta fix this, replace that, alter this, rekey that, whatever. But when they send you there's some great NSPs. There's some really good ones, and there's some really bad ones. And at least most of us that have been doing this long enough or have some experience and probably know how to eyeball those. If an NSP calls you out of the cold and says, hey, I got 15 buildings I need you to go do, well, what happened to the guy that was helping you? Like, there's usually a reason why they'll cold call you. So if you have a good history with one of them, keep it going. If it's a cold call situation, be a little cautious.
I would agree with that. It's kind of a mixed bag for me. The biggest problem I usually have is payment.
Yeah.
Because there's so many steps, and if you don't do it exactly the way they want, well, it's another 30 days, and pretty soon it's been 120 days.
Yep.
So what I usually do is I stop and say, okay, how many times do these guys call me a year? You know, where are their locations that they're servicing? Okay, is it advantageous for me to keep doing work for them, or am I losing money by keeping track of it? Driving cost, you know, local, I'm more apt to do it. I'll usually tell them, well, the first job you're probably going to have to pay by card or something, a corporate card. After that, we can set up an account and we can bill. But I have a limit on the NTE, you know, I have a limit on how long I'll wait. So
yeah, and that's something to be said on, you know, if you spend a couple days doing that work and you have to miss out on some other calls potentially, waiting 90 days for payment after kind of begging a little bit for the money, I get why that doesn't sit well with everybody. Right? At the same time, you know, if you're getting going to get some jobs going, it may not, depending on your perspective, it might be, like you said, a great place to get started.
I would say if you're new and you're just starting out, you take everyone you could get.
Oh yeah.
No matter what. You know?
I hear these horror stories of guys been waiting, you know, over a year for their payments, and yeah, word goes around real fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we'll do a few more questions. Can you believe we've been going for 26 minutes?
Wow.
Oh wow.
Isn't that
This is
crazy?
fun,
really.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So, next question, and Javon, we'll start with you on this one.
Okay.
This one comes from Spring Visual.
Okay.
It says, which skills would you say separate a run-of-the-mill locksmith from a specialist in both residential, commercial, and ignition fields? So, kind of everything. And you've been, you know, you've locksmith for a lot of years, a lot of different places. So I'm curious.
So, I think what separates you is, you know, there's a lot of guys that are out there that like to just do the basics, the rekeys and the you know, hardware installs and that. And I think my personal take on it is that, you know, as a locksmith, we should know everything about doors. Like, I should be able to go up to the door and figure out every problem with it and be able to fix anything that's wrong with that door, whether that's the hinges, the threshold, the door itself, replace the door, any of the hardware. So I think that what happens is you get a lot of people that they want to just stick to, well, I just do these rekeys and I do, you know, and that's locksmithing. But I think that there's a lot to be said for all the other aspects of the door and the entry, that all the things that the suppliers carry that are part of technically locksmithing. I mean, it's all part of the job, but a lot of guys don't do it. And so I think that when you're doing those extra things, the in the floor door closers, you know, you're taking off the big glass Herculite doors, you're doing all those extra things, that's making your customer that much more happy, right? Because you can leave there and you can fix every problem that they've got instead of handing it over to, say, a contractor. Because once that contractor goes out there, now you've just lost some business when you could have learned how to do it yourself. So I think that's a big thing that can actually separate you from, you know, the run of the mill, just out there doing rekeys and that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
That's my point on it.
Okay.
Really.
Chris?
I think he said it very well. It's you can walk up to any situation, have either an immediate answer or something, at least, you know, within reason. But there's essentially no obstacles. You can go into a situation and you say, okay, this is the problem. What color do you want? You know, that's the only problem you're going to have. You know exactly what type of hardware, all the recommendations, all the things you can do for them. You should be able to encompass every aspect of that job. From just the hardware to the door to the thresholds to the hinges to, oh, you like this type of stuff, no problem. What kind of door do you want? Do you want mahogany? Do you want pine? Do you want, do you want metal casing? You know every aspect and anything that's related to that, as opposed to just someone that does rekeys.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with the entry, I say, or the door opening and the door itself, I always say is, you know, you should know all of it, or at least start trying to learn some of that stuff, you know.
Yeah. Doing some basic hinge tweaking or getting the door back in alignment.
I mean, you have to start somewhere. I mean, you can't just go in and say, oh, I know everything. You have to, you know, slowly work at it. But the whole point is maybe spend some of that time trying to learn some of that, even if maybe you take a little bit of a loss as far as your profit to actually learn something on a door. Then maybe you're making the customer that much more happy, which is going to get them to return call and make you more business.
For automotive, that's a big hurdle for people to be specialists in automotive, and there's so many types of cars out there. There's so many types of cylinders and methods and techniques that like if you're working with safes, not just opening safes, but repairs, installation, servicing. Do you do vaults? Do you do all these different things? So yeah, you have to know every aspect of that part of the industry to call yourself a specialist, I'd say.
Okay.
I would agree with that, and I think it's worth taking the time to get the proper training if you can.
Right.
I mean, there's been jobs that I've done, it was a whole new area for my business, so I took the time. I went to Seattle, said, we're going to do this job, it's a big job, we want to do it right. Well, I've got to get the training, so I took the time to go over there and have the factory train me on how to do it and learn how to take them apart, learn how to do replacements and repairs, learn how to do programming, all this stuff. And I think it's inconvenient to take time away to do that. As a locksmith, we have trouble saying no to any job.
Right.
We don't
But
want
you're
it
investing
to
in
break
yourself,
away,
though.
but it's
Right.
it's making you more money in the long run because it's opening up your wheelhouse. And there might be some time when you need a contractor, you hire him for the first time, you're still basically supervising him, but you have him show you along the way so that from that point on you can do it. Some way you get the training, if there's not anywhere to go get it, you bring somebody in the first time and have them show you how it's done, then you can carry on with that.
Right.
Speaking about the education
Good
and
idea.
training, I mean, I don't know if you noticed that, but just cars, that's the automotive convention. 2019 we had it in Vegas. I mean, business paid trip to Vegas, why not? But yeah,
Right.
it's you reinvest in yourself, and you can take the steps for certifications and CMLs, and if you can get there, yeah, there's lots of stuff.
And we know locksmiths that they don't want to do anything anymore. They just want to do automotive now,
Right.
because they've been doing it so long, and that's okay too, because they're kind of starting to
Oh, yeah.
dial back and getting a little older. They don't want to, be on their knees drilling deadbolts or installing locks. Just go out and make keys for cars.
Oh, yeah.
True.
It just depends on where you want your business to go.
Right.
Absolutely, and kind of where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
As well.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to do 2 more questions here. Everyone, thank you so much. Mark Call, how's it going? We'll do 2 more questions here, and I'll let you guys get out of here. Thank you so much. And we're 31 minutes in, and I think I promised you guys 20 to 30 minutes here. So
We're good. We're good.
we'll get there. So, 2 last questions is one is when it comes to lock pins, do you prefer using universal or OEM or OEM type? For like Quickset, right, or Schlage, are you using universal, or do you see a big difference? It's actually a really, really popular question people get asked because, well, I'm gonna let you guys talk.
I prefer universal. That's me.
You prefer universal?
Yeah, I'm
And-
a universal
and
guy. Yeah.
What would be the reason for that? Like if someone was kind of like, I'm not sure kind of what to do.
Well, when you get the big kit instead of just having a bunch of little specialized kits. I mean, I just don't see the benefit of having a whole bunch of little kits all over the place. I'd rather just have everything in one spot. Everything I need is right there. If I have to make an adjustment, it's there, and if it's just 3,000s, I mean that's kind of really where I'm at on it. Yeah.
That's kind of how I am, but I have a 5,000s kit, 3,000s, Schlage, and Quickset. And the reason I have the 3 and 5 is when I come across like Corbin and Rustlin, or something weird, and like if they have a master key involved and like an arrow, obviously you've got to have those other kits,
Right.
and you can, like the 3,000s, you can really fine tune it. But typically, like my Schlage and Quickset, I'll buy original, from you.
Thank you.
And because I just prefer them,
Okay.
and the kit is separated,
Yeah.
but I have those on standby for the oddball weird things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Typically, for if my customer can't tell the difference, it's gonna be universal. That's I use 3,000s. It's just like you said, it's a little more fine tuning. You can jump up and down, and it's a lot easier for that. Your customer's not gonna be able to tell the difference between OEM pins and universal pins, especially for your quick section Schlages, your big box stuff. But there are some benefits to having an OEM kit. Usually, depending on the manufacturer and then the size and whatever. Not usually you get things like clips and springs and some little extra things that come in those kits, which do come in handy. I have a couple different ones. I have a Titan kit, which is great. Titan's not really made that much anymore, but it's still good to have parts. But yeah, for general day-to-day, just universal pins, Lab 3.0.
Okay.
I think the one time it's nice to have a brand specific kit though is if you've got a really big rekey or something. Well then, then it's just convenient to have, you can load it up full of pins and just kind of carry it around with you, and it's
a little
smaller.
smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller, exactly. So that's helpful.
Yeah, that's kind of back in the day. I used, you'd have your universal sitting there. I'd have like in my van, and then if it was a quick set or a Schlage, even though I had universal pins in it most of the time, except for quick set, I like to go OEM style quick set. I would just put it up on top of there because I don't want to think.
Right. It's a little
if
quicker.
I knew the cuts were a 4, 2, 3, 2, 1, I just wanted to go 4. Right.
Yeah.
And not think, even though I knew what the sizes are, I guess just
you're not
being
looking
lazy.
through. Okay.
There's guys who put them in cups. They'll just take it right out of the kit and they'll just dump their bags in cups because they know what their numbers are, and they'll just write a number on the front of them.
Right.
That's
for
a good
big
one.
rekeys. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, guys. So, last question. I'm going to try to pick a really good one here. See if I can stump you guys.
Uh-oh.
No. Okay, this one's kind of come out a few times here, so I think we'll go with it. Residential doors. What is... can I do 2 questions? Can I do 2? Okay.
Okay.
What's your, for residential doors, what is your favorite method to open them? Like, what's your go-to when you're on a residential lockout?
Card if you can.
Card.
That's the
quickest,
easiest, fastest way.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, mica paper, the stuff works really good. Usually you check for the easy stuff. Is it even locked? I'm sure everyone at this table's gone to a house and someone says, I'm locked out of my house. You show up the freaking door. They didn't push hard enough or there's a bag on the door,
I've had that happen with cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone to cars and the
Go to the
windows down.
passenger
Yep.
I always
surprise.
prefer to test skill first, just because, I don't know, to keep it sharpened, whatever, I'll always try to pick it first. Even if it's just for a couple of minutes and I can see that it's like, the Grand Canyon over there and you could card it or something. I just like to come out professional first and, do a little picking just to see if I can get it real quick,
Sure. Picking
And if
is perishable, so if you don't keep up on it, you will, it will dull over time.
Right.
And I've noticed, have you guys ever noticed that your hands, when I first started doing it, I was always right-handed. And after 2 or 3 years, I could actually start picking better with my left hand. And I pick better left now.
Really?
It depends on the
That's
lock
a-
though. Sometimes I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
Just
I
depends
got
on-
these weird,
yeah.
hitchhiker thumbs. So for me, tensioning's like perfect. It's just
Right.
super angled. But leashy, regular picking, and then you go into the other methods of bumping and stuff. But yeah, always try to
Right.
use the skill-oriented ones first,
Right.
Because it benefits you the most to do so.
Right.
Okay. Probably the best reply to the question on here was by Gerald. Nice one. He says, turn the knob.
Yeah. Right. There we go. Yeah. First.
Have you
Right.
guys ever encountered something like that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you guys really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already
Really?
open.
People get in a
Yeah.
panic. They don't bother. They don't have their keys. They never actually check if the door's locked though.
Okay.
How'd you do that?
Or it might be
How'd
not-
you do that
yeah.
so fast?
Might not be the front door. You go to the side door.
Yep.
And go, well, this
Turn
one's
knob.
open. Yeah. So.
That is good. Okay, guys. Last question. A lot of guys they like to go to bumping. It's kind of all over the place. I really think it comes down to what do you like to do, and what do you think is your best odds for getting it open as quickly as possible.
That's really what
Right.
it boils down to.
And depending on what your skill set is, of course, I was a subway card guy. Hold that. Hopefully to get it in a professional manner, of course. Right.
Right.
But, okay, so last question, kind of more of a fun one. But guys, we've done a lot of stuff about lubricant, right? I've done a lot of little magic tricks and having a little fun with lock lubricant. And they're wondering, what is your favorite lock lubricant?
It's always been Tri-Flow for me. It's Teflon based. It works really good, and it tends to bead the water up if it gets wet and keep the water from sitting in the lock and creating that white corrosive stuff that makes things slow down. I also like the Houdini, which you gave me. I tried that and I was really happy with it. So those would be my two go-tos.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we've actually changed the name a little bit on here. We're calling it Deanie now.
Deanie?
Deanie.
That's right. You were saying that
If
before.
you're on the
Yeah.
street, you call it Deanie now.
Right.
Yep,
Deanie.
yep. On the streets, you call it Deanie. Yeah.
I like that.
Great.
Maybe like a hashtag. No.
Yeah.
I'm Team Houdini. I like the stuff. I'll tell you what I'm not a fan of though is graphite. Customers love graphite. Yeah, but that stuff gets everywhere. But
Stay
yeah,
away from the
Houdini.
graphite.
Why? Well, I mean, why do you think there's still such a big push with graphite?
It's a conspiracy. I'm telling you.
In my experience, the old timers always ask me about graphite, and I say, well, here's the problem. We live in the Pacific Northwest, so what it does is you put it in there, and then it gets wet, and then it actually can freeze.
Yep.
And then it causes more of a problem. And we have such a long season of just wet here. I don't think it's a good idea to use here when there's plenty of other things.
Yeah, and
that
it
work
builds
so
up
much
in
better.
there, and it just clogs the whole
Yeah.
thing up. So
Yeah.
it just, I never liked it.
I love taking a door cylinder apart, deadbolt or not, and then you take it off, and there's this mountain of graphite just comes off the side of the door, and you're like, this wasn't me. Just so you were aware,
Yeah.
just so you know that black waterfall
That
has nothing
actually
to
does
do with
happen
me.
often. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite lubricant is also Triflow. I've always been a Triflow guy. I use it on everything, so that's always
Okay.
been my big one.
And have you tried the Deanie at all?
I have, yeah. No, and to be fair, I like them also. I'm just stuck with the Triflows. It's been so many years that I've used it that I've always used it.
Absolutely, yeah. And, before I
Yeah.
heard of Houdini, when people kept calling and asking, wanting to buy it, and I hadn't heard anything about it. And I was a Triflow guy before that.
Yeah.
The one downside I didn't like about Triflow is I always would run, so I'd always have to have
it
a
does
rag
run.
underneath the
Yeah,
lock.
it does, yeah.
But it does
true.
work.
Yeah.
It does work.
And it doesn't smell too bad either. There's a
No.
few out there, but I mean, you can't even be in open air with them. They smell so
Right,
bad.
right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Absolutely, guys. Well, hey, thank you all so much for coming on, taking time to answer questions. Everybody online, thank you so much for tuning in and asking these guys questions. I hope you found it valuable, and I had a great time, guys.
Oh, yeah, thanks for
absolutely.
having us. That was fun.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
That's
It's
good
great to
deal.
meet these guys.
I know, right?
Actually, hey, little quick side note. We were actually filming something with Chris here right before this, and we didn't get to introduce. I didn't get to introduce you guys until literally 30 seconds before we went live.
Yeah.
So, guys, thanks for being good troops. I mean, what the heck?
I was snooping on his van anyway. He was
Oh, yeah.
standing out there, so I decided to walk over and see what was going on.
Nice. Good stuff, guys. Well, hey, thanks once again, everybody. Thank you, and we will see you next time.